Recording on a Sunday, this is the Monday and the Tuesday editions of the Court of Public Opinion. There is one every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and of course live streaming from the dining room table, jeremycordeaux.com on Friday for 3 hours, where you can call us and have your say and do what you like. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera, and the Court of Public Opinion, as we like to call it, is in session. And speaking of jeremycordeaux.com, last Friday we had John Bruni on those surface ship purchases. Interesting. Les Ellicus and his Ellicus report. Mike O'Reilly, fascinating guy he is. Peter Gers, Max Markson, and who else was there? Oh, Mark Duplessis. Mark was doing this old-fashioned house auction, you know, where somebody puts his house, and I guess the real estate as well, but at a different time, but the entire contents is auctioned. That, I think, Pete, is what I'm going to have to do here when the time comes.
Well, if I'm still alive, I'll be at that. I'll be at that auction.
Well, it would be very embarrassing, really, because you see, a lot of the things that I have here in the garage and in the house, I think are just marvelous. But I would hate to think what other people think. They probably wouldn't be at all interested.
No, you've got some lovely stuff.
Oh, it's curious. It's bizarre. It's eclectic.
Yeah. Well, there's a Western saddle over there. I'll put a bid on straight away.
All right. It's eccentric. I mean, how often are we going to use a Western saddle? Come on. We should use a Western saddle more often. Next Friday, more fun and games, and I hope you can join us. jeremycordeaux.com. Among other things on Friday, I know one thing I've got locked in I won't say it's an expose on vitamins, but it is what we need to know about vitamins, because I'm quite sure we have the most expensive we in the world. But does it do any good? 1 week of summer left, and today is a beautiful day. Sun is shining, it's not too hot. It's kind of a Goldilocks day, really. Not too hot, not too cold. A federal by-election next weekend. This is in the seat of Dunkley. It's a pretty safe Labor seat, but it'll be a bit of a bellwether. See what happens. Donald Trump, speaking of elections, has easily won the South Carolina Republican primary. Now, he can put that together with his wins in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, and the US Virgin Islands. He was up against the former UN ambassador, Nikki Haley, in South Carolina. That's her home state. That's where she was governor for some period of time. Now, it gives you some idea of Donald Trump's popularity, at least among Republicans. Wow. But Nikki says she's going to stay in the race. Donald doesn't like that. But, you know, the world can change. I mean, a week in politics is a very long time. Nick Nolan, a friend of mine and a wit and a great radio executive, he was a senior executive at 5AA some years ago. Great guy. He sent me this. Let me see if I can get it right. By 2050, we'll all be pollution-free. And Nick says underneath it, emission impossible, which is very clever. Emission impossible. Yeah. Oh, God. As I said, a week in politics is a long time, and here they are promising and talking weaponry and climate change and God knows what, to 2050. Bizarre. We'll come back to it, but they're about to announce that federal public servants will get a big new deal, enabling them to choose where they work. Work from home or work from the office every day. as I say, we'll come back to that. My son Christopher, this is something maybe you can help us with. My son Christopher rang me to tell me this tale of woe. He's staying in town, in the city of Adelaide, while doing The Fringe. He's performing in Peter Gurr's wonderful production. It's called Hamlet in 15 Minutes. And it is very clever, and I must say I'm very proud of him. He's very good. Anyway, that's not the story. He has, or had, an electric bike. Yes? An electric bike. Wouldn't have been my choice. Anyway, it's been stolen out of the car park on Hindmarsh Square about 6 o'clock this last Saturday morning. Of course, this is the sort of thing that is far, far worse in Sydney and Melbourne, I know that. But this was a brazen theft. While the CCTV recorded it all, why I mention it is that you might recognise this person who is clearly seen. I've got the whole thing stealing the bike, but this is the close-up, enhanced by Peter Clayton. The police are looking for him, but if you can help, that would be terrific. Pete, could you put that picture in here?
Yes, we'll slip it in right here, right now.
Okay, right. What sort of gets my interest up is that this guy got entry into the carport, or the garage, and he also exited, and you can't do either without a pass key or a fob. Very good security, which is, I guess, why Christopher felt the bike was fairly safe down there. Anyway, if you can help, please do. I guess it started in general terms with the cost of living debate, which still goes on. But soon that debate zeroed in on Coles and Woolworths and their duopoly. How to bring prices down? Now, I remember we used to have the same argument over air travel in Australia. There was Ansett and TAA. Do you remember those days? Now that was a true duopoly. No alternative. If you wanted to fly between the cities, that was it. You didn't have an alternative. They even had parallel timetables. They took off within about 5 or 10 minutes of each other. You know, if they'd staggered the flight times, it may have given people a bit of choice. But no, the arrangement was set up with the government of the day, and it was very narrow and restricted. No choice. But that's not true with shopping. It isn't, particularly supermarket shopping. As I say about many things, just don't be there. Just don't be there. Go to Drake's or IGA, Foodland. There are convenience stores as well. God, there are 10,000 on the runs everywhere, which are kind of like a mini supermarket. But what I'm saying is Coles and Woolworths will soon lower their prices, but they'll only do it when they have to. It's easy. It is easy. Stop complaining and shop elsewhere. We do have control over this particular duopoly. A big shake-up in higher education is on the way. Whoa. Yes, this is a reforming government. Anyway, let's go back and have a little look at history. Free university was introduced by Whitlam. Free university education. It didn't work. They stumbled on with it for philosophical reasons, probably. Keating then introduced HECS fees, which was based on the American scheme, whereby you went to university free, but when you got your degree and you were earning, I think it was more than $40,000 a year, from that degree you started to have to pay back the money for your tuition. And people are still grumbling over that, even today, and ever since. It's not fair. It used to be free. Well, listen, nothing is free. Somebody has to pay. You don't have to go to university to know that life isn't fair. Here's a question. What do we, the taxpayer, the worker, get from universities? Many of the most successful people in this country never went to university. But anyway, I digress. Did we get, or do we get, more scientists, more doctors, more rocket scientists from universities? Or do we get more activists and radicals and ratbags? Huh? The humanities, oh, very popular. Arts degrees, law degrees. Then, of course, straight into politics. What do these people contribute to a better, more productive society? Here's another good question. How many people are working or ended up working in the area of their degree? Or doesn't that matter? You know, I think the attitude of before was, well, it's free, I'll do it, no problem, I'll do it, no problem. If only for the social life. Anyway, it's typical Labour. Social engineering. They say it's nation building. Look, to me, I may have a very restricted or simplistic view of life, but if we want stronger, smarter people working at the top, I think it's about struggle. It's about the struggle. If you want a better, more able, more sustainable, successful society, reward and incentive. I think that is absolutely the best policy. It used to be the Liberal policy or the Conservative policy. I don't even know if they understand reward and incentive. I know certainly Labor doesn't understand. Control and taxes is all Labor understands. Allow people to keep more of what they earn, and I promise you they will earn more. Which means, of course, they will increase their productivity, which is good for them, the individual, and great for the country and the economy. This report on tertiary education talks about the disadvantaged. Getting more people into university, particularly from rural and remote areas. I don't know what you do with the standards where you lower the bar to just to get people into university, if that is the criteria, if that's the aim, if that's the end. They talk about fairness and equality. It does everything in this report, everything, but use the word gap. The gap, the education gap. No, don't use that word. Don't use the gap word. No. These guys have got absolutely no shame whatsoever. Do they plan to do for the universities what they have done for Aboriginals? Let's face it, they haven't done very well with gaps. And by the way, fairness and equity. Fairness and equity. The world is not fair or equal. I get it. These people think that they will improve people's access to higher education. Good, good. But, like the NDIS, the Aboriginals, defence, climate change, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Labor is terrific at throwing money at a problem. They're nothing. The money's gone, the government changes, the mess is cleaned up, people forget, by which time they're back in power. And away we go again. Whew. 5 days, as I said at the head of the show, to the Dunkley by-election, which I think probably should result in Albo getting a kick in the pants. I doubt if he's going to lose the seat, but we'll see. Word around the traps, however, is that the main protagonists in Labor's failed voice referendum are regrouping with Labor's front bench to have another go. Truth-telling and treaty. As I said once before, facetiously, I don't know that Aboriginals, or indeed the Labor Party, can take the truth. If they want to help disadvantaged Aboriginal people, and not all Aboriginal people certainly are disadvantaged, far from it. But if government, any government, wants to help, and God help us when that knock comes at the door and he says, I'm from the government and here to help you. Be very, very careful. But if you really want to help, as I say, this government or any government, follow the money. Follow the money. What we need is a major audit of Aboriginal affairs and where the money goes. I don't think for one moment this Labor government will think about it, condone it, even discuss it. Follow the money. At least, you know, with the NDIS, Bill Shorten had the honesty to admit that it was in the hands of organised crime. We need a full expose of the multi-billion-dollar Aboriginal industry. It's that simple and that complicated. How much time have I got, Pete?
Well,
a bit?
Yeah. A little bit.
Okay, 2,273 Palestinians have been given visas to come and live and work in Australia. Now, according to this, 78% of Palestinians, the general Palestinian population, approve of Hamas and their invasion of Israel. Was there any screening of these people? I know it was a humanitarian gesture, decision, but remember, as I said a moment ago, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. We need more than good intentions. We need good outcomes. Do we want supporters of Hamas working and living in Australia? And who's going to take responsibility if some of these people turn out to be terrorists and activists? Huh? Oh, they'll run for cover. They'll run for cover. Wasn't my idea. No. Some dates, ladies and gentlemen, and the Court of Public Opinion will adjourn. February 26th it is. Yep. The Bank of England issues the first £1 note on this day in 1797. And this was certainly an amazing day. This day in 1935, radar. Pete, do you know what radar stands for?
No.
It stands for, I didn't know either till I looked at this, radio detection and ranging. Radar. First demonstrated by Robert Watson Watt. And that was in 1935 on this day. And on the same day in 1938, the first passenger ship was equipped with radar. And my God, radar, just a year later, when war was declared, 1939, made an enormous difference to the Allies, one way or another. 1977, the first flight of the space shuttle atop a 747. Way back in 1977. Gee, can you imagine that meeting where the engineer said, "No, well, we've got the space shuttle, and how are we going to do this? I know, we'll stick it on the top of a 747." How it ever stayed up there, I have no idea. But, you know, it's a stepping stone in our amazing journey to space. Fats Domino was born. He had 65 hits on the American charts. He was born in 1928 on this day. Ours is Walkin', Fats Domino. I Found My Thrill on Blueberry Hill. It was a great song. Johnny Cash was born in Arkansas. Johnny was given to him as a first name by his mates in the army, apparently, but he was born this day in 1932. No longer with us, I'm afraid. Sandy Shaw was born in Essex. Her real name was Sandra Goodrich. 1947, her gimmick was to wear no shoes. Sandy Shaw. Peter Brock was born 45. Betty Hutton was born in 1921. Victor Hugo was born in 1802. The wonderful Victor Hugo, French author and playwright. Oh yes, I remember him. Rupert Albert Gary Henderson was born in Sydney. Everyone called him or knew him as Rags. Rags Henderson. I always thought it was his first name, but it wasn't. It was just a collection of his initials. He was born in 1896, but he was the power behind the Fairfax Empire. He was the chairman of, golly, what, Channel 7, the Sydney Morning Herald, Woman's Day, the Macquarie Broadcasting Network, which is where I ran across him. And everyone quaked. He was the Rupert Murdoch of his day. He was a very intimidating character. The Sydney Hilton was opened on this day in 1981. Jackie Gleason was born. He died at the age of 71 in 1987, but he was born this day in 1916. Oh, Buffalo Bill Cody was born in 1846. The Grand Canyon was declared a national park in 1919 on this day. And for the first time since they first appeared in the United States of America in 1949, on this day in 1955, 45 RPM records outsold 78s. Wow. And a happy birthday to a great old radio mate of mine, Jeff Medwell, who was born on this day in 1923. Thanks so much for being with us, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton and I'll be back tomorrow. Believe in yourself. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion.